If my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles an hour, you're gonna see some serious. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on another adventure. Whether you're on your couch, watching on TV, on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your game system. Wherever you're watching me at, wherever you're watching me from, I thank you. I am the Giant Rat, and today we're traveling back in history. That's right. We will soon be on a road named the Benner Pike. This road will take us towards a town here in central Pennsylvania named Bellefonte. But before we get to Bellefonte, we'll be crossing an invisible barrier. An invisible barrier into what was once an industrial empire. That's right. This is an America 250 vlog, but not an entire vlog. I'm going to show you a portion today, as I will be filming a little bit, more or less a scouting mission into an area, a subject that is somewhat familiar, but nonetheless what I feel is an interesting story, and maybe one that deserves a brief telling. While we drive, we're going to talk a bit about how John Dunlop became known as the Iron King of central Pennsylvania. He was the son of James Dunlop, a Revolutionary War patriot who laid out the streets in the pattern that eventually became Bellefonte. And while James was a pioneer of land, John was a pioneer of industry. By his early 20s, John was obsessed with the rocks and the hills surrounding the valley we're traveling in right now. He realized that central Pennsylvania was sitting on a gold mine. Not a yellow gold mine. A gold mine made of iron ore. An important resource in the late 1700s into the 1800s. He was a self-taught geologist and knew something else that even the most studied geologists didn't know. The land that we all walk on here in central Pennsylvania, well, it covers up limestone. And limestone is like a flux, if you will, that helps to clean impurities from iron ore. John wasn't just digging out iron or limestone. He was creating an industrial empire. And that was just in his 20s. John spent his 30s buying up tracts of land, woodland, because he understood in order to get the iron from the ore, you have to use a forge, a furnace, as we've seen in the past vlogs. But that furnace needs to be powered in this era by charcoal. In order to get charcoal, you needed to own a lot of land, and you needed to do something that seems crazy in this day and age: burn that land. Cut the trees to the ground and burn them. That created the charcoal that fueled the forges. So if you can imagine, in this land of retail and industrial space and town here, this was all woodland. And John owned most of it right here. If you were here in that era, chances are you would be in the midst of a construction site. Noisy, dirty, smelly, smoky, burning trees and forest here. We will soon be on Axeman Road. We'll be paralleling the Logan Branch, which was the engine to John's Logan furnace that he built. John used this water to power the massive bellows that kept the furnace going. Keep your eye out on the left as we cross here onto Axeman Road, as you will soon see the big house that oversaw the entire operation. There it is. This is the Bellefonte Forge house, also known as the John Dunlop house. John built his house to last. Thickness of the limestone walls. This wasn't just a home, it was a fortress of the federal style. Those windows, they once looked out over a literal army of workers. Across the road, you see the smaller stone buildings. Those were the houses, the iron workers. John provided a roof over their head, but he also owned the risk. Somewhere right in this area, in 1814, John was doing what he always did, getting his hands dirty. He was inspecting a mine bank when the earth caved in. He built his entire stone world, but the earth took him back at just 44 years old. This valley was all once iron mine. The raw ore coming from these ridges right here that helped build early America. When John died in that collapse, the shock wave hit the entire Pennsylvania economy. Without his constant energy, the empire he built slowly began to fade away. The forges, the furnaces slowly began to cool. On this return trip, you have to wonder what happens when the king falls. After John's death, the ironworks eventually passed to the Valentine and Thomas families, names that are familiar to Bellefonte, even to this day. But the era of the charcoal furnace had a shelf life. As coal and coke took over the industry, these smaller water-powered sites couldn't keep up. The fires at Logan Furnace finally went out for good around 1844. For nearly 30 years after John's death, the hammers kept swinging. But the iron plantation way of life is fading. Today, the smoke is gone, the creek is quiet. But the town of Bellefonte, the beautiful spring that John named, is still standing. I'm on my return trip back to work, but I'll leave you with this. John's story was just one of many here in central Pennsylvania. Many that played a role in America's early industrial age. There are homes such as this. And yes, we'll tell a story about that home as well at some point. But these homes have a history and a story. One of the things that has kind of gotten lost in time is that the backbone of central Pennsylvania was largely created from the ore in the ground here. That ore being iron, being coal, being lead. And as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary, I feel drawn to the pioneers of the area I grew up in, that I know. They screamed to me, "Tell my story." As many are not telling the story of those who maybe you didn't learn in the history books. And that is the heart and soul of my America 250 series. Now, this wasn't a well planned out, thought out, researched America 250 vlog as my previous America 250 vlog dealing with Toe Hill was. It's because this is a shorter part of a longer story, and some of the elements from this particular vlog today I'll be bringing to you in a future episode of America 250, where I will talk more about the Ironmasters, central Pennsylvania. Now that's a few months away, because I have another story that I'm getting ready to tell that you will hear by the end of the month. A story about the unknown American capitals of the early American Revolution. But I will also be telling another story about iron ore in Scotia, where one of the most famous iron barons, or steel barons as he was, set up operation nearby. These stories, a lot of them are related. But I thought, man, before I get too deep down that rabbit hole, I want to go visit that mansion, look at it, show it to you. And some of that footage may be used in the future. I may go back and film again. I don't know. But I will be revisiting that mansion in a future vlog, in our Ironmasters vlog. But as it is, this was the story of the Iron King, John Dunlop. The Iron King of central Pennsylvania, and the man who named the town nearby Bellefonte. Thanks for joining me today. I know it was a little different, but I wanted to tell that story today. I thought it would be fun. Now, dreams, grass, churros. We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be way shorter tomorrow, I promise.